What is down, everybody? It is your main course, little Pancake. Welcome back to another video. Today, I'm back. What's up? It's been a while. It's been a long while. Today, we're talking about an animal. We're doing that again, because I like doing that, and I like learning new things, and I like teaching you about useless knowledge of animals you have never heard of. And today, we are talking about the Tamaraw. I hope you are excited. I sure am. Let's get into it. The Tamaraw is a small buffalo belonging to the family Bovidae. So, same family as cows. It is endemic to the island of Mindoro in the Philippines. And it is the only endemic Philippine bovine. Which kind of makes sense, because the Philippines are a bunch of islands, and islands aren't typically where you find large mammals, They are believed to have once thrived on the larger island of Luzon and across the Philippines. They once had a much greater range, or so they say. And even on the island of Mindoro, their range used to be a lot larger. It used to spread through the entire island, but now they are only in a few remote spots on the island. It is, in fact, a critically endangered species. So that's not great. It is the second largest native terrestrial mammal in the Philippines, which kind of goes on to what I said, that islands aren't conducive to large mammals. The largest mammal is the Caraballo. I might be pronouncing that wrong. So the Tamaraw was originally described, so observed and taken note of, in 1888 by a French zoologist, Pierre-Marie Huade, who gave it the name Anoa mindorensis. In 1958, they were like, this French guy didn't know what he's talking about, and they moved it into a subspecies of the water buffalo, Anoa bupalis. And then again in 1969, they were like, wait a second, we messed it up. And they reverted this and changed the scientific name to the Bupalis mindorensis, which is what it is today. The name Tamaraw is speculated to have come from the name Tamadaw, which is another name for the banting, which is another animal. So they think that it kind of came from that, and they were like, well, this looks like it, whatever. Tamaraw also goes by different names depending on where you are in the Philippines, I suppose, such as Tamaraw, and Tamaraw. I don't know if I said any of those right, but that's kind of the history of the Tamaraw, the overview of what it is in a calm sense. Now, let's get a little more into what the Tamaraw looks like. Very compact animal, very dense. It's got like a heavy-set body with 4 legs, which is nice. They have cloven hooves, which is, typical, with a small head and a really short, thick neck. They are smaller and stockier than the water buffalo. There's not much of a difference between the males and the females in this species. It's said that the males' necks are a little bit bigger, a little thicker, but you can't really tell unless you get up under there. You know what I mean? Go. Blah, 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 blah. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't go like that to any animal, especially not a human. That'd probably end poorly. The shoulder height is about 39 to 41 inches, or 100 to 105 centimeters. And then the body length is about 7.2 feet. Pretty long for that height, That's a long animal. And they've got about a 24 inch or 60 centimeter tail. So you're imagining that size. They weigh typically between 400 to 660 pounds. So pretty dense animal, And all of these measurements are for the adult Tamaraw, a mature specimen. They have white markings on their hooves and inner forelegs, and most Tamaraw have a pair of grayish stripes that go from their eye to their horn. So like a, their ears are roughly 5.3 inches long, 13.5 centimeters for the weirdos across the pond and everywhere else in the world. The males and females have horns. They're kind of like a V-shaped horn, which is a very interesting horn growth. The horns are, as I was saying about being weird, they're like triangular at the base of the horn, and they're kind of flattened out across the head, and they rub their horns a lot, so the like outer surfaces of their horns are kind of worn out and rubbed down a little bit, and the horns are typically 14 to 20 inches long, so fairly long horn, 35 to 51 centimeters. Now, where are you going to find this Tamaraw? Where do they live? What do they like in their habitat? Pretty limited habitat because they're critically endangered. It's thought that they preferred tropical highland forests. They liked that thick brush so they could kind of sneak around and dip and dart. But they also liked being near a nice open field they could graze in and enjoy time with the in-laws. That habitat got very disrupted, so they more so live in the lower grassy plains now, in the most remote areas of Mindoro. They are almost always found very close to a water source, which I respect. You gotta stay drinking. Now, what do they eat? Well, grass mostly, and bamboo, very young bamboo. They'll chew on. Their favorite foods are a kogon grass and wild sugar cane, and that's about it. Not a very interesting diet. They are typically diurnal, which means they feed and do all their stuff during the day, but due to increased human activity, it has been documented that some have transitioned into becoming nocturnal feeders to avoid humans, which I understand. I fully understand that. So let's get into some behavior. What do they do in their free time? Like, they play video games. Do they go out with their friends? They go to bars and stuff. Movies. Well, we don't really know. Not a whole lot is known about the Tamaraw because, one, there's so few of them. Two, they're very secluded and spooky. No, not spooky. They're very skittish. That's the word. They live for about 20 to 25 years. Their generation length is about 10 years, which is pretty long for, an animal. Females give birth to one offspring after 300 days of gestation, which is a long time to be pregnant. And then the calf will stay with its mother for about 2 to 4 years before fleeing the nest and becoming independent. Now, unlike most bovine cows and buffalo and whatnot, they are solitary creatures. They do not collect into herds and hang out together. They're more of a secluded, individualistic society. So males and females can be seen together year-round. They cross paths, but typically the interactions between individuals will only be a few hours. They kind of stop in, say hi, have a cup of coffee, They are pretty aggressive creatures, so don't mess with them. Don't cross paths. One thing they like to do in their free time is wallow in mud pits, just like in many other creatures that do this, like hippos and stuff. It's thought to help them get away from mosquitoes and other biting, flying insects. When a Tamaraw is threatened, they get into their fight position. They lower their head, show their horns off in a vertical position, so they're sticking up, and then they shake their head. I would run. Now, they're endangered. How did this happen? Well, it would likely be us. So, these creatures used to be thriving. And this is because before around 1900, most people did not settle on the island of Mindoro because there was a malaria strain on that island that was very deadly, and people didn't frick with that. And then malaria didn't become as much of a problem because of vaccines and medicine and modern day. And people started settling on Mindoro, and the Tamaraw's range began to decrease. By 1966, their range had decreased from the entire island to just 3 areas, including Mount Iglit, Mount Calavite, and around the Sibelian Penal Settlement. I don't know where those are. Here's a map. By 2000, their range only consisted of the Mount Iglit Bako National Park and Aruyan. In the early 1900s, their population was estimated to be about 10,000, which is a healthy population for an island. I mean, geez. By 1949, the numbers had dropped to about 1,000. Just 4 years later, in 1953, the estimate was fewer than 250. By 1969, the population dropped to 100, and then people were finally like, hey, maybe we should try to save this animal. And they began trying to. So the population rose to about 120 by 1975, and it's now estimated, and this is a broad estimate, but that there could be anywhere between 30 and 200 Tamaraw in the wild, which is not many. That's not many at all. What are they doing about it? How does the public feel about it? What's going on? The Tamaraw is largely seen as a very valuable species, which is good. That means people want to save it. It was first classified as critically endangered in 2000 and has been ever since. The factors contributing to this endangerment are humans, introduction of non-native cattle led to a rinderpest epidemic, which killed a lot of them, and humans hunt them for food. And as humans expand their territory, other animals lose their habitat. It's kind of the way it goes. Multiple Philippine laws and organizations have been created to try to help them out. In 1936, the killing and hunting of Tamaraw was outlawed. In 1979, a committee was created specifically for preserving the Tamaraw. And in that same year, the Tamaraw Conservation Project began. In 2001, Republic Act 9147 was enacted to protect the Tamaraw and other species from hunting and sale, so there's some legislation going on. The Tamaraw population seems to be decreasing currently. One of the estimates in 2016 was 413, and now it's looking like under 300. In 2002, Presidential Proclamation 273 made October the month for the conservation and protection of the Tamaraw in Mindoro. So, to kind of trying to just keep the public engaged, remind them, hey, we need you to participate in this too. The Tamaraw is pretty present in Philippine culture. The national animal of the Philippines is the caraballo, but the Tamaraw is considered a national symbol of the Philippines. The Tamaraw, it was featured on the 1 peso coin from 1983 to 1994, which is pretty cool. In 2004, October 1st was officially made a holiday in Mindoro to honor the Tamaraw and remind people about the importance of its conservation. In the 90s, Toyota Motors Philippines released the Toyota Kijang as the Tamaraw FX, which is a very popular car amongst taxi drivers. The Tamaraw is also the mascot of lots of teams. It's the mascot of the Far Eastern University, the University Athletic Association of the Philippines, and the Toyota Tamaraws, which are a Philippine Basketball Association team, which Toyota Tamaraws is pretty baller. Pretty baller. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is about all I've got for the Tamaraw. Overall, pretty cool animal, pretty cool species. Hopefully hopefully conservation efforts start working. It's not looking good for the Tamaraw currently. Conservation biologists doing their best, I'm sure, trying to figure stuff out. Hope they do. It's a cool animal. Hate to see it leave, but it happens. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you really did enjoy this video. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Make someone else's day better if you can. Tell someone you love them. Call your mom, call your dad, call your aunt. Make sure people know that you appreciate them. And know that you are also appreciated by me. And probably by a lot of other people too. Even if you don't think so. I will see all of y'all later.